Good morning, kids. This is Grandma Freeman, and it's warming up today. We had a very hard freeze for a few days, and then it came up to 33, I believe, this morning. But now it's 48 degrees, and it's going to get up to, I believe they said 67. So this is a beautiful day, and today I want to talk about budgeting. This is my new journal for 2026, and so I'm turning over a leaf, and since things have changed so much, I felt to use my new journal. So I want to show you this, and also a few years ago I found this in Women's Day magazine. It's a budget tracker, and I like this. I've been using this for a year now, and I feel like I can talk about it more clearly than I did the last time. So this is how I keep, whoops, it just doesn't want to focus. Okay, there it goes. So I really have to budget my income because I can't afford to make any mistakes. I try to live on my income, not savings. So it's very important that I try to stay within my budget. Of course, if something comes up unexpectedly, an expense, then I would have to take it from my savings and transfer it to my checking so I could use it. And that happens periodically. So, especially if something major happens, the air conditioner goes out, or we had a pipe burst in our garage area a few years ago, and we had to replace all the pipes, and that was very expensive, including the water heater. So when those things happen, I have to have something, because I'm the sole income for this household. And anyway, this is my new journal, and here I have this budget tracker that I really like. I've used it for a whole year, and it includes what I really like about it is that especially for a wage earner, it has wages and salaries, and it has, if you're married, it has wage earner number 1 and 2, and it goes on, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. And over here, this is a blank page, of course. This would be like, okay, I've already done January and I've already reconciled it. And so this would be another month, say March or April, probably April. So, or May, I'm not sure. So I would write the month and the year in there. And then I would write the type of payment, whether it's check, I would just write the number. And then the date would be that little small column, and the payee would be the larger line there. And then over here would be just left blank for a check when I reconcile, to check it off that I match it with my checkbook or whatever to make sure it's accurate. And then these two, the one to the left would be the column I'd write the amount I paid. This is an actual payment. And the next one I would write charge, like for credit cards. So that's what I would owe. Okay, so I've got the payment line and the owed line, or the charge account line. And I try to keep the charge account line as bare as possible, because then when I pay a bill, like if I pay $50 or $30 on a charge account, then I would have to write it in, whatever. If I wrote a check, I would have to write in how much I paid. So that sometimes I've never gone all the way down and then had to use the next page for 1 month. So I try to keep my expenses to as minimum as possible. That's one thing about this budget tracker. Actually, it would, if you don't have a lot of expenses and that you have to write in, it would be better just to use a simple pad of paper and just write in your income and make sure that it's clear that that's an income. But the one thing I really like about this is because it includes your regular income, and then it includes interest and dividends for like a bank account, and royalties, commissions, and rents, and then other income, and then you add up your total income, and then it has another for taxes. Now, the new Social Security law is they don't tax Social Security, but they do take out for Medicare. So that amount I write in on one of those lines. They don't, I actually could write it in under Social Security, so I could say Medicare, or I don't pay state taxes in Texas, so I could write under Medicare under that, and then I would subtract the total from total income taxes from line B. I would subtract line B from total income, which would be the gross income, and it would be from line A. And then I would write on line C, the difference, it would be my take-home pay. And I like that. So I do write my gross income in instead of my take-home pay at the top. And then it has expenditures, but I think it would be better, like if you don't have too many expenses, you could write, I think it would be better to write in savings. So whatever you're budgeting for savings, write that in under savings. You may have to use it by the end of the month, but or before the end of the month. But if you have some money saved, that's to your benefit. And then I would write in expenditures, would be living expenses. And it's also a part of, well, there's a separate category for food, but living expenses includes your housing, rent, mortgage payments, utilities, maintenance, real estate and property taxes, fixed assets, furniture, appliances, and then other living expenses like your maybe your phone bill. And under utilities, I list my water, sewer, and garbage, which I pay through the city where I live, under housing. And then I have a total electric house, so very expensive. And so I would list electricity under that. So, and then it goes under food, it's food and supplies. Since I mainly shop at one store, that I, just list what I budgeted out for shopping either once a week or, I do it monthly, what I budget for the whole month. That's just a budget amount. And so what I plan to spend for the whole month. And then it has restaurant expenses. So I do budget $50 usually for that. I don't always spend it. Sometimes I have to use it under food, what I spend at the grocery store. And then it has total food expenditures. So that's, if I budget $250 for food, which I hope I don't have to, and $50, so that would be $300 for total food expenditures, something like that. And then it has clothing and personal care under expenditures, and new clothes, cleaning, tailoring, personal care, hair care, other clothing and personal care, and then the total, and that would be line F. And then we go to transportation, and under transportation category would be automobile purchases, like a down payment, and then payments, and then gas, tolls, and parking, and then automobile registration, tags, stickers, repairs, and I have a special thing about repairs. When I when I budget my total income, I add it up before I write it in, and then I subtract it from my gross income, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And that would be my total, and then I would write in repairs, whatever the difference is from my total income to what I have budgeted. And I go budget everything before I write in repairs. And so the balance from what I earn and what I have budgeted in would go in that line, because if I don't use it during that month, and that would also include oil changes, if I don't use it in the month that I'm budgeting for, then that would be, eventually we go into savings when I have enough to save. Okay, and then the next one would be recreation. Now, instead of recreation, I would probably put it under, well, I might use it because there's certain things I may budget for hobbies, but it has under recreation, movies, theater, sporting events, and then club memberships and vacations. Well, the club membership, I do save for Christmas Club. I'm a member of the Christmas Club at the bank where I bank, and so I would write that amount in there and just write Christmas Club. And then it has vacations, hobbies, sporting goods, gifts. Yes, I do give birthday gifts, so whatever I spend for those, or I'll budget for gifts of the month. And I don't have that many to give, but sometimes it comes up. And then reading materials, and then other recreation expenses. Under reading materials, for example, I do need to make copies for this year, and I may make more than 12, just so it'll go into for a few more months, because I have to get out either today or tomorrow and make copies of this at the copy doctor. So I'll probably do it tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see what happens today. And because this is my last page, and this is a 2-page budget tracker. So I'm on the second page here. And then and then it goes down to, line H would be total recreation expenses. And then it goes under medical expenditures, and that would be doctor, dental, prescription drugs and medicines. And line I would be total medical expenses. And then it goes to insurance expenditures, health, life, automobile, that's mandatory, disability. Okay. Anyway, I disability, liability, other insurance expenditures, which I have a dental insurance, so I would write that amount in. Total insurance expenditures would be line J, and then other expenditures. Some people would need this. It includes educational expenditures, childcare, and other expenses. Now, for me, because sometimes I would need it, I would probably use other expenditures as credit card payments, for credit card payments each month. And I always try to pay them off, but sometimes I do use it, but not on a regular basis. So, and then the total for those expenditures would be line K. And then you would need to add up lines D through K, and that would give you your total expenditures. And by that time, I would include automobile repairs. And then, so that would be your total line L. Is that line L? Yeah. Line L would be everything would have to amount to my total gross income, because I do have Medicare, and that would be listed under medical expenditures. I would write that in. Oh no, that would be, I'm sorry, that would go under insurance, under health, Medicare. I would write Medicare there and do it on that top line for insurance expenditures. So that's why I write my gross income in. And then that has to match, that's written in line L. Excuse me, I'm having a mind boggle right now. And then actual, when I pay those things, the actual would go into the actual spending. And the difference would go either minus or plus. Whether if I spend under, it would be a plus. The difference would be a plus. If I go over, it would be a minus. So that's how, and then I would total that. And then later, when I reconcile the budget at the end of the month, then if there's any income available for savings, it would go in under the, probably it would be under the difference right there at the bottom line, which would be line M, income available for savings. So I try to budget enough so that I can actually have that, some income for savings. But I do try to budget for savings first. So if I were to write all this out, my income would be listed at the top, and then my taxes would be Medicare. It's not, but yes, I do have to pay for Medicare. It's quite a bit. So my gross income is less. But since I write in that as part of my budget, because it's coming out of my gross income, then I write my gross income has to be the total expenditures, line D through K. So I do like this idea of the categories. And if you don't have that many, just write out your income so that you can see it, your gross and your take-home pay. And if you want to list your taxes, that's I think that's a good thing. That way you can keep track of how much you're paying the federal government for your whatever it is. So, and then your living expenses and your food expenses and restaurants, that's important. And you should allow yourself a certain amount for coffee or whatever it is, candy bar or a Coke or something when you're out and about. And if you drink that, I don't drink Coke, and I don't eat candy unless it's like the holidays or a gift. It's got to be good. But I try to limit that because it's not healthy for me. Anyway, and that's not my habit. So that's that. But I have a lot of expenses because I'm head of household, and it's good to have this because of property taxes and different things that car registration, all those things. So, but if you don't have a lot of expenses, then you can just write out your expenses. You can either categorize them or just list them. And then you can do gross income if you have Medicare, or you can just do take-home pay. And I do total income. You don't even have to worry about that. You just try to stay in your living expenses. When I was younger, I didn't do this because I knew how much I had to spend on food, and I knew how much I had to spend on rent and electricity, and and I think my water bill was included in my rent, and also the gas I think was included in the rent for the stove. I used to live in California, and there's a lot of stoves that have gas out there. But where I live, I have, not to say that there aren't places that have gas. They choose that, I guess, and for their stoves and heating, possibly for their heating. It's probably less expensive. But I try to keep my electricity bill down. And, well, anyhow, so, and that went up this year. My home insurance went up, and last year my automobile insurance went up, and it'll go up again this year. These things I have to budget for because I have to live within my income. Well, anyhow, this is kind of lengthy today. I hope you learned something from this. And if you have small income and you're a one income family, I strongly urge you to budget your income and stay within your budget. And the journal is great for keeping track of your spending on a daily basis, or your checks, whatever it is. And then I reconcile it with my checkbook, and I keep my payment stubs or statements so I can reconcile that all my bills have been paid by the end of the month. Certain things, when I begin my journal, certain things are set for a certain period of time. So I write that in right away, like my insurance payments, different things like that. So I write those in, and then of course, my savings also, I can write that in on top too. So any way you do it, whether you get yourself a budget book, which you can buy at any of those stationery stores. Usually I had that one year too, but this is less expensive, and I do like to keep my expenses down. But it's minimal what I'm going to pay for this. But since it's two-sided, it's going to be less paper, but it's a little bit more complicated. And anyway, have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe. Bye now. Happy budgeting.